Welcome back from the coffee break. Our next speaker is Kevin Dunn from the Dalhousie University, Canada. Dunn will address the collaboration between companies and university researchers and communicate his reflection regarding the current North Atlantic cooperation and the opportunity for further cooperation in the marine sector. Mr. Dunn, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I think you'll see some continuity from the previous speaker, not because of good planning, but because of good luck. I did want to comment before I started that our friend from the ministry had talked about the key areas of the economic drivers around marine sector in Iceland. I had already done my own research and was given the information about the oil, the mining, the oil sector is coming in Iceland, the fisheries and the tourism. Although my original source said tourism probably trumps the fisheries. Oh, by the way, my original source was the taxi driver on the way in, so it's good everybody has the same story anyway. So I'm here to talk about the marine innovation scene in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. Just from my background, I'm an engineer by trade, which makes me quite pragmatic. But I am the director of our Industry Liaison and Innovation Office, our Tech Transfer Office at Dalhousie University. As well, I had an interim role, which I'll speak to in a few moments. Just a little bit about Dalhousie University. We were formed in 1818. Halifax is Nova Scotia's capital. Population about 400,000 people. It's very much a multicultural city. A lot of, I believe, other than St. John's, Newfoundland, we have the highest per capita bar per population, which it's a university town. With regard to our academic phase, we have about 17,000 students, almost 4,000 grad students. We have a lot of international students that participate at our university. 11 faculties, so we are affiliated with the 2 teaching hospitals, engineering, law, the life science degrees, and have just recently merged with the agricultural campus in Bible Hill, Nova Scotia. I wanted to speak a little bit about our research strengths. The ocean and marine sector is one of the key ones. Health science, material science, information and communication technologies, governance, society and culture, and agriculture. Again, we have about 1,100 researchers, and I think the current number is closer to $145 million in research activity per year. I wanted to focus a little bit about Dalhousie's capability in the ocean and marine science. We have some in the room are actually participating in this. The Ocean Tracking Network is a $160 million international project, which involves the tagging and tracking of marine creatures, and the worldwide headquarters of that data collection and predictive modeling is in Dalhousie University in Halifax. We have more than 100 ocean researchers, science, law, engineering, and business. We're the only Canadian and one of the top 30 research institutions in oceanography, the Times Higher Education has said. We're involved deeply in the processes and prediction, biological resources, conservation, management, health, and policy in the ocean and marine science. I wanted to just give you a couple of snapshots of a few key people that you may know or may want to know. Before I do that, my goal here is to reinforce the message of our previous speakers. I can tell you that the example people I'm about to show you have thrived in international collaborations. And I am here to both seek collaborations and offer collaborations in the ocean tech sector, both in the aquaculture, but I do want to make comments about the ocean tech sector, how it's evolved in the Halifax area, and hopefully we can walk through certain focus areas have come bubble to the top, and we have competing interest in what's been called the Ocean Users Group by some of our colleagues. So Doug Wallace is in oceanography. He was recruited back from Kiel, Germany, back to Halifax, Nova Scotia, a Canada Excellence Research Chair, which was a $10 million grant from the Government of Canada to in ocean science and technology. Dr. Wallace is an ocean and atmospheric exchange of greenhouse gases. He's also the science director of the Halifax Marine Research Insititute, which I'll talk to in a moment, and he's the science director of the long name, but MEOPAR stands for Marine Environmental Prediction and Response, a national center of excellence. I'd like to spend just a couple of seconds on that because that is a national center of excellence delivered from the Government of Canada that looks towards marine environmental prediction and response. And what is that? Well, part of that is greenhouse gas emissions. Part of that is sensor deployment on ships to monitor the micro and macro climate across the North Atlantic. We have collaborations with France, with Germany. Some of the supply ships that go from Germany to Halifax are wired with sensor platforms that tie into this. And certainly this would likely and probably be a point of collaboration with our Nordic colleagues. Dr. Boris Worm is a marine biologist, and he is an NSERC fellow, one of 6 awarded in Canada annually. He's really become a spokesperson for some global conservation consequence of changes in marine biodiversity. And he's widely publicized for his work having united fisheries research and biologists. We spoke a little bit about the regulatory framework. Aldo Cherkov is a marine lawyer. We have actually a very, very strong marine law group, and he's the director of that law institute, and both environmental policy, integrated coastal and ocean management, and the development of legal tools to empower governments to protect, preserve, and manage coastal areas. I didn't put this on, but we also have a Lloyd's Registry Chair, only of 3 in the world, is housed in Halifax, Nova Scotia, for risk management. Sarah Iverson is in biology. She's the scientific director for the Ocean Tracking Network, which I just mentioned, and she's developed custom models to examine how marine mammals adapt to changing environments. So just in a very few minutes, I just wanted to highlight some of the researchers at Dalhousie University, of which I work. I had the privilege of being the inaugural executive director for a group called the Halifax Marine Research Institute, which I wanted to walk through what that is right now. But it's a tool for government, university, industry, research collaboration. Why is this important to my part of the world? Halifax is an ocean city. It's 1/5 of the Nova Scotia earns their living from the oceans. Dalhousie University and the government labs that are in the Halifax corridor within about a 5-kilometer radius. There are 450 ocean-related PhDs in Halifax, including the Bedford Institute of Oceanography, Defense Research, Development Canada, Atlantic, and Dalhousie University. We're the East Coast Naval Base for the Canadian Navy, the Coast Guard base, which 12 ships are home ported, and the Port of Halifax containers, shipments, automobile shipments, and 250,000 cruise ship visitors per year. The ocean is an important, like the Nordic example, the ocean is important to the economy of Nova Scotia, Canada. This Halifax Marine Research Institute is an incorporated not-for-profit marine research and marine innovation vehicle. It involves all of the universities in Atlantic Canada and further, the government labs and private industry. It provides management and technical support to large-scale multi-party marine science programs, and it's meant to facilitate industry engagement and product commercialization. And that's kind of an important thing, because we've heard from some of our previous speakers. Because I do a job of tech transfer, I can tell you that the universities are very good at publishing papers and coming up with novel solutions. Most times those solutions then look for a problem. And that's a challenge when you call that innovation. This model actually embeds the industry partners with the solution providers, government labs and academic leaders, to come up with much more applicable and commercially driven innovations. So I've come to realize in my working career, innovation is a people sport. You need not only your researchers thinking about what's innovative, you need innovative solutions that can be applied. And I think that's something to keep in mind as well. So the mission of the Halifax Marine Research Institute is to raise public awareness, develop international research pipelines, facilitate large-scale collaborative research programs, addressing economic, social, and environmental challenges. Frankly, we did not start this institute to try to do things we weren't good at. We decided to say, what are we good at, and where can we apply those solutions? In our region, we were very good at the capture fishery as well as some aquaculture. We were very strong in defense and security, the marine energy and resources, and tourism, transportation, tourism, and coastal communities. Playing to our regional research strengths, that also meant that the life science sector, we've heard a little bit already in that regard. We've seen a lot of activity on high value byproducts that can be used by the life science sector, as well as byproducts for other sectors like the agriculture sector. We have seen tremendous growth in ocean sensing, acoustical, optical, chemical, deployed systems for a wide variety of both scientific, industrial, and military applications. Strong international linkages is something that we boast, and really the marine policy and law has been something that's been overlooked for quite some time, but can really no longer be. Because without the regulatory side of this being dealt with as you do the innovation part of this, you will run into roadblocks. So the management of the Marine Research Institute, basically science networks are complex, multi-institutional, multidisciplinary, and broadly distributed. This initiative is not meant to replace a company coming to a university and doing something. These are really meant to be multi-stakeholder, complex problems that have high impact and high yield for either socioeconomic or straight up economic reasons. There has to be some motivation that will be varied among the research partners. The budgets are large, and there's some command and control responsibility is key. Somebody has to make sure these things work. And HMRI offers a bundle of management services, including financial, communication, board of governance, et cetera, that really is the value it adds to help get these complex projects going. It's also developing its own center of excellence in the management of marine research for the Government of Canada. There's been many interactions already existing with large technology companies, and in the fisheries field, a couple of names that may be noteworthy here is Clearwater Fine Foods. Cook Aquaculture is being involved here, but there are companies like Rolls-Royce, General Dynamics, Irving, Encana, ExxonMobil. These cover a wide variety of sectors. And the potential British Petroleum, IBM, Shell, as you can see, also the potential are as broad, very broadly based. And what one of my comments is we've been trying not to fit solutions into some of these project kickoffs, but a lot of times if you're doing an oil and gas exploration, it will impact the fisheries that you then have to account for in these large projects. So we are folding in subject matter experts very early on in these projects to try to avoid stumbling blocks later. And that's something that seems to be unique, and it certainly is not without its challenges, but can help minimize problems later on. In the public outreach side of the house, there's a facility called the Discovery Center, which teaches children during the year round, frankly, but during the summer months in particular. The ocean, the Discovery Center is going to have a new ocean theme, where the marine theme public space on the Halifax harbor front, and it will raise the ocean IQ of the public. Public outreach opportunities for the marine research are critical to make sure that the general population understand the importance of ocean research and where food and where opportunities of the future are going to come from. Dalhousie Ocean Science Center, the new home for the Halifax Marine Research Institute. This slide says it opening on May 2013. And in fact, it's opening in 1 hour. So the launch of this facility is today. And it's going to be the home of the Ocean Tracking Network, as well as the MEOPAR National Center of Excellence and the Halifax Marine Research Institute, to be a real nexus of ocean-related science in the Halifax area. And we're very excited for the opportunities to come here. The other thing, when I went to my subject matter expert on the drive from the airport to here, I asked, what about shipbuilding? Is that important in Iceland? And he said, well, I guess. And I wanted to share one slide here, because shipbuilding is important in Halifax. The Irving Shipyard were the winners of a 25, some may say the max of this would be a $30 billion Canadian contract to construct the combat vessels for the Canadian Navy. So basically it's a sole source. Now, I haven't converted this number into Icelandic kronas, but it's a big number in Canada. And it will have huge impact on ocean technology areas that have cross-cutting impact into some of the what we've talked about, the different ocean user groups, including the fishery sector. And this has gained a lot of attention globally, frankly. The contact information for the Halifax Marine Research Institute is shown here. Of course, that address is changing today, but we'll get that updated in the shared files. And this is who I am. A couple of other things that I wanted to make mention is we've seen a number, these are basically some of my comments on some of the previous speakers' information shared. We've seen a number of aquaculture research initiatives that have happened of late. And we have a lot of pushback on the aquaculture scene in our part of the world as well. And really, my own personal belief, I think it comes down to largely, maybe it's a North American saying, but not in my backyard. A lot of people have cottages out in some bay that they really don't want some of the aquaculture pens to be Atlantic salmon to be farmed in their site plains. The provincial governments and the federal governments are really struggling with locating these, and there was lots of reasons about some of the scientific challenges that have to be overcome. But invasive species, some of the disease, and they can disease both the wild and the raised stock. So that's something that our regulatory folks are struggling with greatly. The other area we've seen actually some scientific inquiry more than anything else is the genetic testing to, and this is market driven, that some of the big retail chains are refusing to sell what is dubbed sustainable fish stock if it can't be proved to be sustainable. So did this fish on this counter come from a sustainable method, or did it come off a trawler off South America that isn't sustainable? And we've had a lot of interest from companies that are trying to prove that, either with genetic testing or rapid test kits of some kind. So there's a lot of market-driven, some of the science questions are coming from marketing, where companies don't want to market a sustainable fishery if they can't prove it isn't. And there's been a couple of North American chains kind of called to task about saying they have a sustainable fish product and they don't. I also would like to say that another initiative that's come up quite a lot in our part of the world is ballast water remediation. Ballast water, the whole challenge point of invasive species, not because you're going to dump them and farm them, because they shouldn't have been there in the first place. We've had a number of inquiries and have some unique large tank capability to not do bench scale testing, but full scale testing on ballast water technologies and filtration technologies, which have been come to be very interesting in the industrial field lately. And lastly, I wanted to make mention that two things. From the regulatory, from our friend that just spoke, is that on the regulatory side of the house, you can't make decisions on information you don't have. And the MEOPAR, the Marine Environmental Observation, Prediction, and Response, is meant to actually fill that void directly. And it's a shared region that we are working on in the North Atlantic between the Nordic countries and Canada, that we are collecting huge amounts of data to find a barometer of the health of the ocean. And that's the whole underpinning of the Marine Environmental Observation, Prediction, and Response group. And any and all collaborations are welcome on that. The last comment I would make is on the Green Growth Initiative. Again, the pragmatic engineer in me, I believe that's a great thing. I also believe that the end users, being the fish farm operators or the companies that have to sell a product, I've hit this personally. If it costs 20% more to run a sustainable genomics test on a fish to prove that it's there, can I pass that on to the end user? And if the answer is no, if it isn't market driven or some sellability, they can charge a premium for that, some of the green growth initiatives will be challenged. And that's just from my own personal experience. But I do think that's something that if they can't charge more for something that has a sustainable or a green angle, then it becomes very challenging why they would cut into their profits for that. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity.